to reopen the government and to extend government funding for a few months to give them time to negotiate some important appropriations matters. Yes, I believe that you're going to see the Democrats meeting in caucus yet today, and as soon as tonight or in the morning, I believe there will be somewhere between 10 and 12 Democrats that will vote.
On the phone by former Senator Claire McCaskill, of course, an esteemed MSNBC analyst, political analyst. Senator, I understand you have some inside information on what might be going down as we're looking at the Senate floor right now. Give me your sense of what happens after this vote, if indeed you're right and your sources help with the 10, 12 Democrats you're saying that might say, great, we're going to vote to reopen the government under these conditions. What then?
Well, it puts tremendous pressure. I mean, Mike Johnson can stay on vacation.
Okay, so you're telling me that we're watching the United States Senate literally walk out on live television during the most critical vote in over 4 decades? Yeah, that just happened. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is wild. Like, we've seen government dysfunction before, but what went down in DC this week? This is a whole new level of chaos. So here's what's happening right now. The government shutdown, the one that's been dragging on for over 40 days, just hit a breaking point. Senators tried to hold a vote to reopen the government. Simple, right? Wrong. The vote didn't just fail, it collapsed spectacularly. We're talking about lawmakers storming out of the chamber, cameras catching every second, and millions of Americans watching this train wreck unfold in real time. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us, be part of the community.
I don't think so, because remember, you have to have a majority of the people to overturn it. So you would have to have pretty much every Republican to agree with it. And I am confident, particularly some of the ones that have been there for a long time, like Susan Collins, some of the appropriators, I am confident they would not be in favor of getting rid of the filibuster, because they know, especially with what happened on Tuesday. I mean, I think, and I said this on the air Tuesday night, I believe that the Senate is now in play.
And guess who's right in the middle of all this drama? Donald Trump. Of course, because when there's political chaos, Trump's got his fingerprints all over it. He's out there on Truth Social, raging at Republicans, demanding they blow up the Senate rules, terminate the filibuster immediately, and basically threatening anyone who won't fall in line. This is wild, people. Let me paint the picture for you. It's November 2025. We're deep into Trump's second term. The government's been shut down for more than 40 days, which is tying records for the longest shutdown in American history. Federal workers aren't getting paid. SNAP benefits are running dry. Air travel's a nightmare. Over 300 flights canceled just this week alone. And what are our elected leaders doing? Walking out of the Senate chamber like petulant children who didn't get their way. Can you believe this? We pay these people to, govern, to make deals, to fix problems, and instead we get live TV drama that looks more like a reality show than actual government. This is the state of American politics in 2025, folks. So the Senate held this critical vote. They needed 60 votes to move forward on ending the shutdown. Basic stuff, right? The vote comes in 53 to 43. They didn't even get close. 3 Democrats crossed over trying to get something done, but most of the party held firm. They're demanding more healthcare funding before they'll budge. Republicans are furious. Democrats are pointing fingers. And Trump's losing his mind on social media. Here's his exact words on Truth Social, and I'm not making this up. The United States Senate should not leave town until they have a deal to end the Democrat shutdown. If they can't, Republicans should terminate the filibuster immediately and take care of our great American workers. Notice how he calls it the Democrat shutdown? Yeah, even though his party controls the White House and had control of Congress. But sure, it's the Democrats' fault. Classic Trump move, right? Blame the other side, turn up the heat, and watch everything burn. And then comes the moment that's going viral everywhere. As the vote fails, as it becomes clear nothing's getting done, senators just start leaving, walking out. On camera, some of them look angry, some look defeated, but they're all heading for the exits while the country watches. It's chaos, pure chaos. This isn't just about procedure or Senate rules, people. This is about millions of Americans suffering right now because our government can't get its act together. Federal workers are missing paychecks. Again, families are struggling. Air travel's becoming dangerous. because we don't have enough air traffic controllers working. And what do we get from Washington? A failed vote and a bunch of senators walking out like this is all just a game. And Trump's out there making it worse. He's not trying to calm things down or find common ground. No, he's throwing gasoline on the fire, demanding his party nuke the filibuster, which is a Senate rule that's been around forever, just to ram through whatever he wants. This is the kind of hardball politics that breaks institutions, people. So why does this matter? Why should you care about Senate procedures and vote counts? Because this shutdown is real. It's affecting real people. Your neighbors, your family, maybe even you. And the fact that our leaders can't even stay in the room to finish a vote, that tells you everything you need to know about where we are right now. This is day 40 plus of the shutdown. Records are being shattered. Public trust is cratering. And we're watching American democracy have a full-blown meltdown on live television. The thing is, most people don't understand what's really at stake here. They see the headlines, they see the drama, but they're missing the bigger picture. Because this isn't just another partisan fight. This isn't just Washington being Washington. This is something different. This is a fundamental breakdown in how our government operates. And the consequences, the consequences are going to be felt for years to come. So buckle up, because what I'm about to show you gets even worse. And you need to understand what's really going on behind all this chaos. We're going to dig into the facts, the real story behind the headlines, and why this moment might be more dangerous than anyone's willing to admit. Let's dive in. All right, so let's talk about what's actually happening here. Because the mainstream media is going to give you the surface level story. They'll show you the dramatic walkout, play Trump's angry tweets, and call it a day. But there's so much more going on beneath the surface, and most people are completely missing it. First, let's get the facts straight. This government shutdown started way back in early October. We're now in mid-November. That's over 40 days, people. To put that in perspective, this is rivaling some of the longest shutdowns in American history. The last big one was back in 2018 through 2019 under Trump's first term, and that was brutal. But this might be worse. Here's what the shutdown actually means for regular people. Over 800,000 federal workers are either furloughed or working without pay. Think about that for a second. These are people with mortgages, car payments, kids to feed, and they're being used as pawns in a political game. SNAP benefits, that's food stamps for those who don't know the acronym, those are running out. Families that depend on that assistance are going hungry. Air travel is becoming a mess because air traffic controllers are either not working or working without pay, and surprise, surprise, that's causing massive delays and cancellations. Over 300 flights canceled just this past weekend alone. That's not normal, folks. That's what happens when you gut the system and expect it to keep running. And it's not just inconvenient, it's dangerous. Air traffic control is one of those things we take for granted until something goes horribly wrong. And we're playing with fire right now. And here's the kicker. Polling shows that more Americans blame Trump and the Republicans for this mess than Democrats. Yeah, despite Trump calling it the Democrat shutdown, most people aren't buying it. They see what's happening, they know who's in charge, and they're pointing fingers at the White House. So that brings us to this week's Senate vote. Democrats and Republicans were supposed to come together, find some compromise, and reopen the government. Sounds simple, right? But nothing in Washington is ever simple, especially not in Trump's Washington. The vote needed 60 senators to say yes. That's the threshold because of the filibuster rule. It's basically a way to make sure that major legislation has broad support, not just a slim majority. Some people love the filibuster, say it protects minority rights and prevents radical changes. Other people, like Trump apparently, hate it because it makes it harder to ram stuff through. So the vote happens. Final tally, 53 in favor, 43 against. They needed 60. They got 53. Math doesn't lie, people. The measure failed. And that's when things got interesting. If by interesting, you mean completely insane. 3 Democrats actually crossed over and voted with Republicans. They're trying to show they want to work together, trying to get something done. But most Democrats held the line. Why? Because they're demanding more money for healthcare programs before they'll agree to reopen the government. They want guarantees, they want protections, and they're not budging until they get them. Republicans are furious about this. They're saying Democrats are holding the country hostage over partisan demands. Democrats are saying Republicans created this mess in the first place by refusing to negotiate in good faith. And around we go. It's the same political theater we've seen 1,000 times, except this time people are really hurting. And then then we get the walkout. As it becomes clear, the vote's gonna fail. Senators just start leaving. Some storm out, some walk out slowly. But they're all heading for the exits, and the cameras catch everything. It goes viral instantly. Twitter's on fire. Cable news is playing it on loop. And everyone's asking the same question. What the hell is going on in Washington? Here's where Trump comes in. Because of course he does. Instead of trying to calm things down, instead of working behind the scenes to find a solution, Trump takes the Truth Social and starts making demands, big demands. He's telling Republicans they need to terminate the filibuster immediately if they can't get a deal done. Let that sink in for a second. The President of the United States is demanding that the Senate blow up one of his core rules, a rule that's been around for decades, just to get what he wants. This isn't normal, people. This is authoritarian style politics. This is my way, or the highway, taken to an extreme. And here's the thing, some Republicans are listening. There are whispers that they might actually do it, that they might nuke the filibuster if this shutdown drags on much longer. And if that happens, the Senate changes forever. Because once you kill the filibuster, there's no going back. Future majorities can do whatever they want with zero input from the minority. That's a fundamental shift in how our government works. Trump's pressure is also creating massive divides within the Republican Party. You've got old school conservatives who still believe in Senate traditions, who think the filibuster is important. And then you've got Trump loyalists who will do whatever he says, who think norms and rules are just obstacles to power. This fight isn't just about the shutdown anymore. It's about the future of the Republican Party, and honestly, the future of American democracy. Meanwhile, back to the real world, regular people are suffering. Federal employees are lining up at food banks. Families are making impossible choices about which bills to pay. National parks are closed or understaffed. Scientific research is on hold, and air travel is becoming genuinely unsafe because we don't have enough trained professionals making sure planes don't crash into each other. This is the cost of political dysfunction, folks. This is what happens when our leaders care more about scoring points than actually governing. And the really scary part, this might just be the beginning, because if they can't even stay in the room to finish a vote, if Trump's willing to blow up Senate rules to get his way, where does this end? We're watching institutions crumble in real time. We're seeing the guardrails of democracy get weaker by the day, and most people are just trying to survive while Washington plays games. This is wild. This is dangerous, and it's only getting worse. Now, let's talk about what this really means, because the shutdown itself is bad enough. But Trump's filibuster threats? That's the nuclear option. That's the kind of move that changes everything. The filibuster has been a part of Senate tradition for generations. It's designed to force compromise, to make sure that major changes have broad support. Kill it, and you unleash something that can't be controlled. Imagine what happens next time Democrats control the Senate. With no filibuster, it can pass whatever they want. Medicare for all? Done. Statehood for DC and Puerto Rico? Done. Supreme Court expansion? Done. And Republicans will have no way to stop any of it, because they'll have set the precedent that rules don't matter when you want power. And then, when Republicans get back in control, they'll do the same thing. Gut social programs, pass massive tax cuts for the wealthy, restrict voting rights, whatever they want, back and forth, forever. That's not a functioning democracy. That's a pendulum of chaos, swinging wider and wider until something breaks. Trump doesn't care about any of this. He's thinking short term. He wants wins now. He wants to look strong to his base. And he's willing to burn down every institution in his path to get what he wants. This is who he is. This is what he does. And Republicans are letting him do it. So what happens next? That's what we need to talk about. Because this story isn't over. Not even close. Okay, let's break this down into simple terms. Because there's a lot happening and we need to understand what it all means. I'm going to give you the key points, the stuff you actually need to know, and then we'll talk about where this is all heading. Point 1, this shutdown is about politics, not policy. Yeah, I said it. Don't let anyone tell you this is about some complicated budget disagreement or policy nuance. This is about power. This is about Trump wanting to flex his muscles and prove he's still in control. And it's about Democrats trying to resist and not get steamrolled. Everything else is just noise. The actual policy differences here, they're not that big. We're talking about healthcare funding levels. We're talking about some border security measures. We're talking about stuff that in a normal world could be negotiated and solved in a few days. But this isn't a normal world anymore. This is Trump's second term. And everything's a battle. Everything's a test of loyalty. Everything's about winning and losing, not about actually governing. Point 2, the walkout matters more than you think. When senators walked out of that chamber on live TV, they weren't just being dramatic. They were sending a message. They were saying, we're done pretending this is normal. Some of them were Republicans frustrated with their own leadership. Some were Democrats making a statement about Republican obstruction. But all of them were showing that the system is broken. And here's why that matters. Once lawmakers stop even trying to work together, once they literally can't stay in the same room, the government stops functioning. We're not just talking about this one vote. We're talking about every vote from here on out. If they can't handle a shutdown negotiation, how are they going to handle foreign policy crises? How are they going to handle economic emergencies? They can't, and that should terrify you. Point 3. Trump's filibuster demand is the real story here. This is the part most people are missing. Trump isn't just mad about the shutdown. He's using the shutdown as an excuse to fundamentally change how the Senate works. He wants to kill the filibuster. And if he gets his way, the Senate becomes just another rubber stamp for whoever's in power. Think about what that means. Right now, the filibuster forces compromise. It makes sure that big changes have support from both parties. It's a protection against extreme swings in policy every time control changes hands. Kill the filibuster, and that protection's gone. Democrats could ram through massive expansions of government when they're in charge. Republicans could gut social programs when they're in charge. Back and forth. Forever. That's not stability. That's chaos. And Trump knows this. He doesn't care. He wants power, and he wants it now. The filibuster is in his way, so he wants it gone. This is short-term thinking at its worst, because what happens when Trump's gone and Democrats control everything? They'll use those same rules he wanted to eliminate, and Republicans will have no one to blame but themselves. Point 4. The human cost is real, and is growing. I keep coming back to this because it matters. While politicians play games, real people are hurting. Federal workers are the most visible victims, but they're not the only ones. Every day this shutdown continues, more damage gets done, more families struggle, more critical services break down. Air travel is becoming dangerous. Think about that. We're one major incident away from a disaster because air traffic controllers are stretched too thin. Food assistance programs are running out of money. People who depend on those programs, often the most vulnerable people in our society, are going hungry. National security is being compromised because intelligence agencies can't operate at full capacity. This isn't a game, people. This has real consequences. So, where does this all go from here? That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, the answer isn't good. Because as long as Trump's demanding the impossible, as long as both parties see more benefit in fighting than compromising, this shutdown could drag on for weeks or even months longer. We're already at 40+ days. That's record-breaking territory. And there's no end in sight. The Senate's on break now. They'll come back eventually, maybe try another vote, and probably fail again. Meanwhile, Trump will keep raging on social media, Democrats will keep digging in, and regular Americans will keep paying the price. There's also the political angle to consider. We're heading into 2026 midterm season. Yeah, it's still a ways off, but campaigns are already gearing up, and both parties think they can use this shutdown to their advantage. Republicans will blame Democrats for obstruction, Democrats will blame Trump and Republicans for creating the crisis, and voters will be stuck in the middle, trying to figure out who's telling the truth. Polling right now shows most Americans blame Trump and the GOP. That's got to be worrying for Republicans facing tough races next year. But Trump doesn't seem to care. He's more worried about looking strong to his base than he is about electoral consequences. And that's a problem, because it means he's got no incentive to back down. Here's the bottom line, folks. What we're watching isn't just a government shutdown. It's a stress test of American democracy. And right now, we're failing that test. Our institutions are crumbling. Our leaders can't even stay in the same room. And the president is demanding we tear down the guardrails that keep our system stable. This is scary stuff. This is the kind of dysfunction that leads to bigger crises down the road. Because if we can't handle a budget fight, if we can't compromise on basic government operations, what happens when we face a real emergency? What happens when there's a war or an economic collapse or a natural disaster? We're supposed to trust these same people to handle that? Yeah, right. Good luck with that. So what can you do? Stay informed. Pay attention. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking this is normal. It's not normal. It's dangerous. And it's only going to get worse unless we demand better from our leaders. This shutdown's going to end eventually. They always do. But the damage being done right now to institutions, to public trust, to actual people's lives, that's not going to be fixed overnight. This is the cost of political extremism. This is what happens when power matters more than people. And Trump's right in the middle of it, pulling strings, making demands, and watching everything burn. Because that's what he does. That's who he is. And until we recognize that, until we hold him and everyone enabling him accountable, this chaos is just going to continue. The really frustrating part? This didn't have to happen. None of this had to happen. There were off-ramps. There were compromise deals on the table. But Trump rejected them. He wants a fight. He thrives on chaos. And as long as Republicans keep enabling him, as long as they keep putting party over country, we're going to keep seeing disasters like this. All right. That's where we are. Government shutdown chaos, Senate walkouts, Trump demanding the nuclear option, and millions of Americans caught in the crossfire. This story is far from over, folks. Stay tuned, because it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, if it gets better at all. And hey, if you made it this far, Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Are you as frustrated as I am? Do you see this ending anytime soon? Let's talk about it, because this affects all of us, whether we like it or not. Catch you in the next one.